Well, I'm doing that thing I promised I would never do, which is make a game. All right, I don't want this to be too long of a video. I just wanted to put this out there to let you know that I'm actively working on a game, and I want to make a whole bunch of videos about this, explaining my approach to things, gameplay, all that kind of stuff will be a whole series of videos. But I wanted to touch on the main elements here so that if you've got questions about it, I would love to hear what those are sooner rather than later, so that if you ask a super obvious question that I haven't thought of, I can make a change or an update or include it in the game that I'm putting together. So basically, what is it called? I don't know. It's called Project X right now. That's the working title under my folders and stuff. That's what I've got it as. The title in my book comes last because you want to know what the whole flavor of the whole thing is before you communicate that in as few words as possible, which is the job of a title or a subtitle, that kind of thing. So the working title is Project X. What genre is it? Well, it is cyberpunk, kind of. This is a whole other video conversation thing because I love cyberpunk because it's just so cool. I mean, look at the color scheme here in the background. You know I like cyberpunk, and I just added these megahedrals from Chessex here and there, um, just neon yellow in the black light back there. Anyway, so I love cyberpunk because I'm fascinated with the nature of technology and how human beings are wired to not just use tools, but embody our tools. We're designed, like who we are as creatures, are designed to transcend the physical nature of what we are. Think about it. Like, if you've ever used a yardstick or something to get something out from under the car that rolled under there or the couch or something, you're holding onto the yardstick and you can tell exactly where on the yardstick that thing is hitting the yardstick. That is such a bizarre proprioceptive awareness kind of thing that we're able to extend our sensory input and understanding into inanimate objects that are not a part of our squishy meat bag bodies. That's really cool. I mean, when you're driving and your car goes over a small pebble, you can tell which tire it was because that translates through the car's chassis into the seat, into your body, and you know what that feels like. That's incredible. So, the cyberpunk future where people have integrated technology into their body to extend what they're capable of doing has always made so much sense to me. What doesn't make sense is the, oh, you're losing your humanity and system shock and strain and cyber psychosis. Like, I get it from a game standpoint why that's there, but from a yes, I think this aligns with my vision for reality kind of thing, not at all. Also, so many so many games that are cyberpunk are anti-capitalist. And this is a whole nother conversation too, because capitalism, tightly defined, is the only economic system that allows consenting humans to deal with consenting humans without interference. Otherwise, you've got the government, which has the state sanctioned, of course, it would sanction itself, monopoly on violence to threaten you with, I mean, we're going through tariffs and all sorts of things, but it's the state's interference in the marketplace that makes corporations possible in the first place. So it's not capitalism and the free exchange of value for value, however, two consenting people decide to do that. It's corporatism, and the corporations only exist because the government created laws that enable them to exist in the first place in the way that they do. So the corporations and the things that it does to our society and economic system is only possible through the interference of the government. So much like how Robin Hood, people think he's stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. That's not it at all. Robin Hood is taking back from the government what was stolen from its constituents and then giving them back what was stolen from them. Right? So it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what the story's trying to say that I think cyberpunk falls into. So most people who love cyberpunk because it's taking on capitalism are usually the first people to say the government should enact more laws to address this, which is what caused the nightmare in the first place. So that's why I like cypherpunk, which is a call to action for people to run their own code, run their own nodes, use privacy tools and peer-to-peer networks, which is kind of what the default hackers do in cyberpunk stories to fight the megacorp uh, kind of omni-channel panopticon surveillance state that the cyberpunk worlds have. So that's why, to me, cyberpunk as a genre, I'm all about, except for most people misunderstanding what it is. So that's why I want to call this game a cypherpunk game, which is fighting against the megacorp and centralized violence of government control over how we decide to spend our time and who to do business with. So that's why it's a cypherpunk game, not cyberpunk, even though I will be using cyberpunk to communicate in shorthand what this is all about. But ultimately, in my heart, it'll be cypherpunk, not cyberpunk. Okay, so that's that's what that is. Um, Also, it will be solo focused. Rolling stag, I roll stag. I play alone most of the time and have for 20 plus years but as I'm getting back used to getting back into this world, yeah, it's solo only. I got two kids under 3 years old right now. I don't have time to meet with folks. So this will be solo. And where does it fall on a scale of checkers to chess to go? It'll be a little bit of checkers and some chess. It'll be fairly clear mechanics of what do you do and when, but it's not going to be so tight as to be a board game. But there will be a lot of randomization elements. So there will be the hard-coded, here's what you do gameplay loop, if you want to call it that, of first you do this, and in this situation, it tells you what to do there. So there'll be a very clear flow, and there will also be flavor add-ons of if you want to turn this more into a journaling game, it will have different prompts and situations that you can dream up that don't have direct mechanical impact on whether you win the game or lose. That will be its own thing, but it could have as much add-on flavor as you want to turn this into creative writing prompts or whatever you want your journaling experience to be. There will be a lot of that in there too. Um, am I building this from the ground up? No, not at all. I am leaning heavily on some other creators, and again, I want to do a whole video about this because the WotC thing a couple years back and the OGL scandal and that whole thing. This is kind of cypherpunk belief, which is that information wants to be free. And I'm a creator. Like, my degree is in painting. I've done graphic design work. I've built websites. I do a lot of consulting and creativity based stuff my whole life. And still, like, in my heart, I'm still not convinced that copyright laws are a good thing. Sure, there's a big part of me that says my life would be so much easier if I have people with guns who will threaten anybody who tries to use my work without my say so. That's great. That's what a copyright law is. But the fashion industry, you can't copyright a dress. You can't copyright recipes. In the magic world, that's a big part of my life is from the magic world. You can't copyright the method to a trick or a routine. Now, I've got hours and hours to say about this stuff too, but in the industries where copyright laws aren't applicable, you still have a lot of innovation and folks who make really good money off of what they come up with. And I'm not saying that it's okay to represent your work as somebody else's work, right? Be like, oh no, this is a real Louis Vuitton. No, you're gonna buy this. That's lying, that's stealing. Using the pattern for your own brand and calling it your own brand, I'm less convinced that that's a bad thing to do, because the more people who can hack on something and iterate on it, the faster it can evolve into something awesome and incredible. So that's why I'm really impressed by game designers who have created these mechanics and then unleash them to the world saying, you know what, build stuff. As long as you give me credit, you know what, cool. Go sell your game, reskin it, whatever you want to do with it. Just include here's who I'm referencing. Okay, so I will absolutely be doing that. It's that the game that I'm building on top of was released with a very generous license that basically just says that. Tell people where you got it and I'll be happy with it. And I'm like, absolutely. I'll just tell everybody where I'm getting it. And I also want to do a whole video about the creators that are kind of leading that charge, and two that are fantastic. The Firelights system, that's what the game I'm building is built on top of. And then Gallant Knight Games released their own version of the Firelights system, Six Thrones of Bones, and that was just released. They added some extra cool stuff to that system, and then I'm taking that and I'm going yes and on top of their yes and of the Firelights system, which is really cool. And then Astro Prisma, uh, she's fantastic, and she's released a whole bunch of stuff for creators to use in asset packs and be like, oh, you want to build third-party content for this game system? Beautiful. Here's how to make it look badass the way I've done. Like, that's incredible. Same with Firelights. The guy behind it, he even released a whole template complete with header examples and all the design and layout stuff for Affinity Publisher 2, I think it is, that I took and I'm kind of reskinning it from the ground up. It's really nice to have that to have as a launching point. So yeah, I love creators that create stuff and share the assets so that other people like me who don't have the math skills to figure out the nuts and bolts of how does this game work from a math standpoint, solve that out and then say use this as the engine to create whatever you want. Like, that's really cool. So that's why I want to make videos about all this stuff. Let me know what you're curious about, what I can answer. I've got a list of videos that I want to make about this. And if I get a lot of questions about one of those that's already on the list, I'll bump that up to the top. And if I get a lot of questions, of a lot of the same question multiple times, if you understand what I'm trying to say, I'll put that on the list and put it at the top because I want to get you the answers that you're looking for. But if you do want to stay up on the game as it develops, go to stagrpg.com, sign up for the email list, and you'll be the first to know when it goes live. And if you're curious about other thoughts I have about solo playing games, I see that YouTube highly recommends this video, and I'll see you over there.